Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Your Success DNA. Doing those daily needed actions, getting those daily needed attitude adjustments, coming at you from yoursuccessatlast.com. Me, I am Sergeant Major Motivation Ace Brinkman here with those motivational oomph you need every single day. Those core inspirational building blocks, they're going to help you get what you need to get done. Phew. Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Right, we made it through another wonderful week. Yeah, woohoo! Got any big plans for the weekend? Some R&R, perhaps? Some honeydew time, maybe? Perhaps it's some R&R with your honey that will do, right? Spending quality time is good. And yeah, this weekend I'm spending some quality time with my gal. And that's important, to spend quality time with real, authentic people in your world. And how you can tell who the real people are in your world is what we're going to talk about today. Before we go there, let me ask today's question. Yeah, have you laid the groundwork? You might want to call it your homework. I ask the questions all week long, each and every single day, and you get 2 days off on Saturday and Sunday. So, today really becomes about, well, have I laid the groundwork for what it is I want to accomplish? That's the question you need to ask yourself. And I'm not here to judge. We all do it in our own good time. Maybe today's not the right day for you. The question would be then, why not? Right? Every day's a good day. So, ask yourself, have you laid your groundwork? Have you done your prep work? Have you answered the questions over the course of the week? That would be a part of your groundwork. Looking at what it is you want. Have you set the goal? And if you haven't set the goal, or whatever a goal, define your major definite purpose, set a goal for yourself, then that should be your first goal. To figure out what it is you want out of life, what it is you want to do, and then start laying the groundwork to do that. And if you want to know how to lay the groundwork so that you can start reaching your peak potential and getting all the results from life that you want, that you dream, that you desire and deserve, you do, right? That's why you listen to these kinds of shows. And I'm going to share more about how you can get that a little later. But I think one of the keys to laying your groundwork faster and it would be through mentorship. And I'm not pitching me as a mentor, although I do that. But you don't want to get mentored, or you don't want to be the mentor to a phony. So how do you tell the authentic person from the phony? Well, in just about every business or organization, group, or even relationships, right? Just every one of your, not every relationship, but you'll have a relationship where there are those who'd rather act the part than do their part. And I'm going to call these people the phonies, right? Phonies can slow businesses. They can slow relationships. They can steal momentum. Heck, they can steal resources. They can even damage relationships, damage people for future relationships, like permanently, if they're allowed to. For a phony to shift from being a phony to becoming that authentic person, right? That real person that we all want to know and love, major changes would have to take place in not just their personality, but their actions and their very thought patterns. And because, think about it. Phonies can look like a duck. They can waddle like a duck. They can quack like a duck, but they just ain't no duck. Phonies, they'll talk the part. They'll claim to be the part. They'll promise to be the part, but in the end, they just fall short of fulfilling the part. So let me share with you 5 ways that you can tell the difference between an authentic person and a phony. The first one comes to mindset, and these 5 ways are going to be in mindset, attitude, the job, results, and success. So when it comes to mindset, authentic people, they tend to have that servant's attitude, right? Their desire to serve, while the phony's mindset is really self-serving, self-centered. So here's how I would see it. Countless men and women have come before each and every one of us out there, come before me, making discoveries, building cities, building countries and civilization, creating businesses and ideals for all of us to aspire to. Well, for me, it's my part on this earth to give in return, to give as much, if not more, than I have received. You see, authentic people are striving to give back to those in the world around them, to those in and in the world around them. While the phonies, well, they're far more interested in how to get more out of, how to get it quicker, how to get it easier, heck, how to get it for free. Sometimes they even feel like it's owed to them. I'm going to save that for a topic for a future podcast. Attitude. When it comes to attitude, authentic people tend to focus on the goal or the mission. While the phonies, they're focused on position, right? They're focused on themselves and where they can be placed. An authentic person will literally give up a position, right? Will give up maybe even getting a goal in order to achieve their major definite purpose, their major goal, or that mission. The phonies, on the other hand, they would give up the mission in order to attain that position. You see, they are far more worried about the title or where they are on the corporate ladder or that big house, that fast car, that younger wife, that handsome husband, whatever it is. An authentic person doesn't have to be braggadocious about themselves or their accomplishments. Well, that phony, that phony is going to be really quick to give you their entire resume of accomplishments, and they're going to sit there and espouse about how important that they are to that relationship or to that business or to that corporation. All right? The job. Authentic people find a job that they enjoy and they love what they do, and thus they end up doing it really well. Phonies are always looking out for that next better opportunity. They're not becoming so vested in the role they're in. They're always thinking there's something else out there. There's something better, something faster, something richer. It's some other position, or maybe it's a position someone else has that they think they are better suited for. All right? And when it comes to results, authentic people deliver, while phonies, they merely promise. There are those that spend their time making promise after promise after promise. You know the type. You've incurred at least one across your time around here, right? They're like, I'll do this when that happens, or I can get that done when this happens, or blah, 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 blah. We've all heard the numerous stories. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the authentic people, they're buckling down, they're problem solving, and they, ladies and gentlemen, are getting it done. And the last one on success. Authentic people, they, don't get me wrong, they enjoy success, but also they love to see others succeed. The phonies, on the other hand, are only interested in their own advancement, in their own success. See, for me, the purpose of my time, I think, on this world is not to make lots of money. Sure, I'd like to have, enough money to be comfortable. It's not to own a huge house, though I'd like to have a nice home with a couple of bells and whistles in it. And I don't need lots of cars. Sure, I'd like to have that nice fast car, that nice motorcycle. But in the end, I've come to feel that my purpose here is to learn and to grow and to share and to hopefully teach. I would even go so far as I would love to steal a line from Jim Rohn, is I would love to be in someone's testimonial where they say, because of Tracy, and whatever their successful story is, that I could die happy at that point. I want to be able to look back at my life with satisfaction and pleasure that I was able to bring something good into this world, no matter how small, no matter how minute. Because trust me, I've been on the dark side. I've served some dark times, and I'm not focusing on those anymore, right? I've survived those. I think in the end we could all agree that being fake or phony is a negative thing. And no one wants to feel like they're being played by someone who's just acting the part. And nor does anyone want to be known as someone who's not living as their true self. So hopefully I was able to share a few ways that you could easily spot a fake, or more hopefully you can spot that authentic person when you come across them. This challenge really becomes tenfold when it comes to our younger generation. These millennials, as they're being called, they've matured in an era of social media, right? They're struggling to pin down that personality trait and literally whether or not they possess it, all right? They spend, scads of time curating what they feel are the most share-worthy photos on Instagram, creating and summarizing their entire life on Facebook, and posting descriptions of themselves on websites, be they dating websites or just social websites. And as real as all those shares moments really can be, there's still that selectivity that's involved in designing your ideal self online, all right? A lot of people are afraid to exposing it all out there and just bearing their souls. There was some research done by a couple of gentlemen. I believe it was Michael Kernis and Brian, I got my notes here, Brian Goldman. And they started studying the individual differences of sincere personalities. And they created a definition of authenticity. And it is the unimpeded operation of one's true or core self in daily enterprise. Okay. Sounds a little official, but it's really, if you think about it, it's that unabashed ability just to be you at the core every single day, right? That's probably the everyday way to say it. See, where do I stumble? I'm stumbling a little bit here. If you really want to tell whether someone is guided by their genuine self and you're looking at their Instagram or their Facebook, you really got to look past that profile that was created, and you got to look into all the thoughts they've shared, all the interactions they've had with people, and all the things that they do every single day to fill their day. And, science is science, and it hasn't been able to map a single path of sincerity. I'll probably want to share these last couple of thoughts on finding those authentic people. I've kind of shared a bit about the difference between phony and authentic, but I just want to zero in on the positive as I close out this week and give you 6 ways to really tell someone who's authentic. Or you could even call this the benefits of being authentic. If you ever feel like putting up that phony facade, here are some reasons why you probably don't want to. And if you have it, pull it down, be yourself. People will love you more. And if you're just true to yourself, share this with others. I'm sure they would love to enjoy these joys as well. All right. First off, authentic people seem to have a higher self-esteem. You see, people who have a solid self-esteem are much generally less defensive about things. They can feel authentic. They can be authentic because they're far less worried about those implications of exposing who they are. And you know why? Because they're okay with who they are. Yeah. Right? I've done bad things in the past, right? I survived the drug scene in Southern California, right? I'm not proud of it, but I'm okay with it because I pulled myself out of it, and I'm here today talking to a whole different crowd of people, right? 30 years ago, the crowd of people that I'm talking to now would know nothing to them, all right? Number 2, this helps them embrace their vulnerability. You see, with that higher self-esteem, they're more able to admit their failings, right? They're able to look at themselves in the mirror and say, yeah, I'm kind of bumbling right there, right? They're able to receive criticism. They're able to receive even negative feedback, and it won't make them crumble. See, the importance of maintaining this flexibility is that they can actually take on the criticism, take on the negative feedback without it just destroying who they are. It won't devastate them. It's something they can admit and they can hope to work on, or at worst case, they're like, you know what? I've tried to change it. I just can't change that right now, or I'm just not ready for it. So they can just take it in, as a piece of advice, and it doesn't affect the whole world, the whole way that they think about themselves. It doesn't cause their whole world to come crashing in around them. I think the next thing is they tend to share their true feelings, their honest beliefs, and their honest opinions about the world. Authentic people not only take the time to ponder, right, their own perspective of their own life, but as well as the experiences that led them to where they are. And they share their true selves with others, their opinions, their beliefs, their experiences with whoever might be willing to listen. Right? And they do it in a non-pushy manner. You'll find these authentic people are saying, hey, here's how I made it through what you're going through, if they happen to have some similar experiences. Not in a way to say, here's how you should do it. And not in that pushy manner, but they'll share it with you as an option that's open to you. All right? They tend to give openly and take in compliments, right? They tend to give and receive compliments really well. Maybe not really well. Most of our authentic people are a little bit reluctant on taking in compliments as easy as they're able to hand them out. But the key is those who are authentic and maintain that honest, that solid sense of self-esteem I'm talking about, do not view compliments with strings attached. They don't listen to someone give them a compliment and think, okay, they want something. And at the same time, they're not doling out compliments with strings attached, okay? Authentic people listen. And you've heard me say this over the past few weeks, listening. Use your ears twice as much as your mouth. Yeah, that coming from the guy who has a podcast, right? Right. But here, in all honesty, authentic people listen, and they prefer deep conversations. Genuine people find it easier to let go of distractions. They focus intently on the conversation that's going on, simply because they're truly interested. They're truly interested in what in not only the other person that they're talking to, but what they have to say, what they're feeling, what they're going through, their opinions, their thoughts, and their beliefs. They aren't constantly checking their smartphone or looking for text messages or checking their emails, right? They're not letting their mind wander off on the things that happened earlier in the day or the things that they still have left to do on their to-do list. Yeah, see, everything else falls by the wayside while they're listening to the person that they're engaged in, okay? And then lastly, they are driven by this inner voice. They're driven by their heart, I would say, their heart song, rather than their surroundings or trappings. One of the key components of authentic people is they simply, or you could even say not so simply, they know who they are. Right? They're comfortable being who they are. They're comfortable in their own skin, so to speak. And it requires taking the time to develop some informed ideas, some informed insights about the things that are going on inside them and around them that they care about, and not blindly adapting the ideals of others without thinking it through. See, it's with this foundation that you and I or others are able to live out the values that they believe in and stand behind them and represent them and feel completely strongly about them. All right? So, a few ideas there for you. I'm imagining if you're listening to this type of show, you're far more authentic than you might even give yourself credit for. If you find a few places where you cross that line, hey, deal with it how you feel comfortable dealing with it. I'm not here to judge. I'm just sharing some points of view. All right, so earlier I asked if you wanted to know how to start laying the groundwork so you can reach the peak of your potential and start getting the results in your life that you want, that you dream, you desire, and deserve. So, of course, I have the 7-day e-coach, and that's where I'm going to push you. So go to yoursuccessatlast.com, get that 7-day e-coach. You can start making sure that you reach your peak potential. The 7-day e-coach, that's going to be your guide to reaching that peak of your potential. All you need, literally, is 7 days to start getting the results in your life that you want, that you dream, that you desire, and I really think you deserve. So, go to yoursuccessatlast.com, click on that banner, drop in your email, and start what is probably going to be the most important week of your life. Ladies and gentlemen, we made it through another wonderful week. I hope you have a great weekend. I'm going to leave you like I always do. Think successfully. Take action. Talk to you on Monday. Bye-bye.